Blizzard and bad decisions, a combination more iconic than peanut butter and jelly. They're no strangers to making the most bafflingly awful choices they can with their products and their community, but today's is a little special. They've decided to start cracking down on profanity in Overwatch, a game that is rated T for teen, not W for weenies. It's rated T with mild language being one of the reasons, so there's already some swearing present in the game by default. However, if a player, like a human being, engages in some naughty language, they can just get banished to the Shadow Realm for it. So collegiate Overwatch player's been banned for 30 days after saying fuck and shit in his chat logs, a decision that will end his college career as he'll be unable to participate in his last tournament. It's a complete non-issue. It's not like he was spamming slurs or anything. He said some simple swear words. Club Penguin was more lenient on cussing than Overwatch, it seems. Getting banished to the Shadow Realm because you said shit in-game is incomprehensible, especially a competitive game like Overwatch. That's going to happen, and yet for some reason, the hall monitors at the Blizzard support staff are left aghast, literally shocked that people would say the word shit in-game. And they stand by this decision, by the way. It wasn't a mistake. They actually fight tooth and nail trying to explain that they don't appreciate and will not allow profanity in Overwatch. Despite having a profanity filter, no F-bombs are allowed for the player Derpy, and by extension, any other player, from what I can tell. They seem to make it a blanket statement that profanity is truly the devil, and it's not welcome in the holy household of Overwatch 2. It was upheld, templates are all you're going to get, appeals aren't for a discussion. In this particular case, profanity. F-bombs in any form are not acceptable. PJ. PJ is obviously the initials of the individual that mishandled this case, but I really think it's more applicable if it stands for profanity janitor. Like, they just have one kind of expert who's perpetually offended by any kind of foul language, and they just sick the hound on the entire Overwatch community, making sure that he goes on a banning rampage if you start saying things like fuck in the game. So anyway, they seem very upset at the idea of F-bombs in Overwatch. So, a user pointed out, why would you even have a profanity filter if using profanity is a bannable offense? Why not just blacklist those words and lead to a chat ban instantly? Why even have a profanity filter? Which is a great point. You have to turn off the profanity filter, meaning you are making the conscious decision to see some less than stellar language being tossed around, less than proper words. Why would you ban people for turning it off and then using those words? You wouldn't even have the profanity filter in the first place. This just showcases how this has truly come out of nowhere. It's a fucking stupid decision. But here, let's dive a little bit more in depth on exactly what's happening here. Overwatch 2 players are getting banned for swearing and they're not thrilled. Blizzard's customer service is in hot water after a series of exchanges about Overwatch 2's profanity rules caught the attention of the community and subsequently went viral. Apparently, profanity of any kind is considered against the hero shooter's code of conduct, and if someone reports it, seemingly regardless of context, you will get banned. The Overwatch community isn't thrilled with this new ruling, nor Blizzard's customer service representative's response. The saga started on April 12th when user Derpy82 posted a tweet asking for a response from Blizzard about their Overwatch 2 account being banned. The user attempted to use the native customer support features, figuring out why they were banned. It was only getting automated responses. It was in accordance to the terms. Yeah. I thought this was a professional player. I thought that's where it started. Blizzard's customer service representative responded to the post saying the ban was enacted due to inappropriate language in text chat, including the use of the F word and SH word, which is fuck and shit. Not exactly the most extreme profanity. He's not dropping slurs. Coming from a game where half the playable hero roster swears, and one of them even has the initials BAMF, which is badass motherfucker, on their belt. It's an odd blanket rule to throw over Overwatch 2, but nevertheless, it is the code of conduct which mentions you may not use language that could be offensive or vulgar to others. The customer service rep pointed out that it is literally in the first section of the code of conduct under communication. Response to the tweet has largely been mocked for considering profanity inherently vulgar and for the flippant response from customer service. One user said that Blizzard should be banning people who use slurs and send death threats over people using profanity, to which customer service account responded in a since-deleted tweet. Then report them, Joy. Wow. That was tough. That was hard. As you can imagine, this was not warmly received by community members like Streamer SK. Did Blizzard hire a bunch of youth pastors to run Blizz CS account? Why are they so concerned about policing people for saying fuck and shit in Overwatch all of a sudden? There are more than enough people dropping slurs and being weird in match chat for you to keep your jobs. That's so true, though. That is a really weird thing to get hung up on. Blizzard keeps doing their best to kill Overwatch. It does seem like it. It really does seem like it. Banning the people still left in there. No swearing on my Christian Minecraft server vibes. That is the vibe here. I really wonder why. I feel like they're trying so hard to make it the safe space that they're aiming for, and they've made it the most aggressively toxic place and like the most fearful place, or even just out of context words like shit are enough to get you banned. That's like the most unsafe place imaginable for everybody. Blizzard can't stop taking L's. Not when it comes to Overwatch, it seems. They made one really good change with their esports league, dropping OWL entirely and changing that. But man, everything else, what in the fuck? I'm honestly pretty curious if this is going to extend beyond just the text chat in Overwatch. Like if PJ gets a little too much dip on their chip and goes on a power trip and starts going through like Overwatch 2 streamers on Twitch, waiting to see if they start saying bad words and then banning them in-game for bringing profanity into the Overwatch community. I feel like it's not that far-fetched. They clearly don't want swearing in their Overwatch 2 environment. So, will he start doing that to, like, sponsored streamers in the future who are representing Overwatch but then saying things like fuck and shit, the forbidden words? I think probably unlikely, but it's not impossible to imagine that world, because we're already living in the loony dimension here if you're getting banned for saying things like shit in a video game. It honestly shows just how little the Overwatch team understands its community. I don't know who they think the audience is that's playing Overwatch 2. They must really think that it's bubble blowing double babies or something in Overwatch that can't handle words like shit. I can promise you, no players in your game are being offended and left with tears in their eyes if someone says fuck in a text chat Overwatch. Like, it's not happening. It's not happening at all. And yet, people are getting banned for it. It's so stupid. I don't think they recognize just how unbelievably ridiculous that concept is. Like, actual kindergarten classrooms are more understanding of bad words than Overwatch. But anyway, I want to move on to another pseudo-Blizzard L here, because this one is also just so fucking stupid that came out of nowhere. The former head of Blizzard piped up and made a stupid statement saying that you should have the option of tipping developers once you finish a really good game. So you'd be paying $70 for the title and then tip on top of that once you finish, which is an outlandish idea from so many different angles, but the most obvious one is that money that you would tip in this fantasy land would not ever see the pockets of a developer that worked on it. It would just go right to the publisher and nobody else. It is so dumb. Yeah, I saw the Blizzard dev say that tipping developers isn't a bad idea. I have not seen that, Aston, but I can look it up. The former boss of Blizzard Entertainment has suggested a post-purchase tip feature that would let players give $10 to $20 extra to the developers of special games. That's definitely not going to the developers, that's just going to the studio. The developers won't see a dime of that shit. Former Blizzard president Mike Ybarra tweeted that he's often felt that upon completion of a particularly enjoyable single-player game, he'd like to give more money to the developers because it was worth more than my initial $70 and they didn't try to nickel and dime me every second. I don't know what world you're living in. I don't know what he's playing. Most of the $70 games that are coming out are really kind of half-baked and focused on trying to nickel and dime you. Games Ybarra mentioned that had sparked such a feeling include Guerrilla's Horizon Zero Dawn, Sony Santa Monica's God of War, Rockstar's Red Dead Redemption 2, Larian's Baldur's Gate 3, and some From Software's Elden Ring.
I know $70 is already a lot, but it's an option at the end of the game I wish I had at times. Some games are that special. It's fair to say that the reaction to the suggestion is mixed, with many people saying they're already forking out plenty of money for video games. Others have pointed out that some game platforms such as itch.io already allow tips, and that small indie developers often use established platforms for donations. Many have also pointed out that any extra revenue generated through these tips would invariably end up in the pockets of the publishers as opposed to the developers themselves, at least for the majority of AAA releases. And if such a system were to hit the likes of Steam, the PlayStation Store, or Xbox Store, would Valve, Sony, and Microsoft all expect a cut? Yeah, of course they would. 100%. It's a stupid idea. On the other hand, others have backed the idea. Paul Kilduff Taylor, what a name, Kilduff Taylor, of Mode 7 Games tweeted, "People have discovered various ingenious ways to be angry about this, but adding a pay more if you want option to major stores would straightforwardly be excellent for devs. It works very well on Bandcamp." Yeah, it works well on Bandcamp because it's people independently releasing those projects. They actually see the money, the pay what you want model. The devs aren't going to see this shit. Like it mentions up here, the platforms are going to want to cut, and the publishers are mainly going to get that tip. Doesn't help the devs at all. No, this isn't like a real thing they're implementing or anything. This is just the former Blizzard head saying that it's a cool idea. Ybarra ended his post acknowledging that the tipping idea won't be for everyone. "I know most will dislike this idea," he said. "By the way, I realize we are tired of tipping and everything else, but I view this different from a pressure to tip type scenario many face and give feedback on." I don't know why you'd view it differently. It's kind of just the same thing. They've added tipping to self-checkout machines, man. Tipping your landlord. Ugh. That was just a meme. That wasn't like a real movement they were trying to make. How else do we keep the robots in check? Yeah, I tipped the Walmart self-checkout machine as an investment into my safety in the future. He'll remember that. Tipping in general is just crazy to me. As a European, nobody's job should depend on it. I know, man. It's tragic. But it's not like there's nothing to really do to fight back against it. If you refuse to tip, the only person you're hurting is like the normal person that's working the job. So I always tip a lot. But I really do hate that they're not paid a decent wage for the work they do and instead have to rely on people to tip. It's fucking stupid. It is so stupid. RNG income. True. Yeah, RNG income. Some owners of places take the tips behind closed doors.